What I would love to see is other folks having more awareness of autism and what autism is.
What I want other people to know about being on the autism spectrum is like how social stuff can be really hard.
Acceptance at employment, colleges, understanding around the community, without being feared of being targeted or mocked.
Taking on a full-time job, I've never haven't been able to since he's been diagnosed at 5. Like I was working for the school and I had to like leave the job and stuff because it doesn't match up with his school schedule.
The purpose behind the research agenda was really to come up with a set of priorities for transition-aged youth.
How we can help our children who's on the spectrum improving their lives in areas where they can be independent and, and get the support that they really need.
Topics like social isolation, intimacy, sexuality, dating, romance, gender identity, body image, adolescents transitioning to adulthood.
I learned a lot being part of the advisory board. I was able to see the professional. I was able to see families, parents that are advocating and strongly advocating for their children.
I was proud that we were a diverse community. Even though when it comes to disability, we can agree but disagree, but respect each other. And respect each other's parenting and ways of thinking. Although speaking with a bunch of parents, different beliefs and stuff, you can get things done.
The autistic youth that was on there, they were able to share their experience, like with school, society, like job-wise or whatever they've experienced. And some things like I can probably relate to with my son, like, yep, my son experienced that, or my son told me that happened in school too. That goes to show how brilliant and intelligent autistic youth are and teens are.
We all listened to one another, we talked. Everybody was allowed to, say their own opinion on what they thought on the matter. So just working together as a group, I really, appreciated that.
With this population, there are staggering rates of depression, of anxiety, of suicidality, and scaffolded by this system for 2 decades that has supported them and their education and their needs. And then they sort of face this critical juncture, and it's a whole new world with so many new tasks and a system that frankly isn't set up to support them in the same way.
Being in groups of like a lot of people can be anxiety inducing. Like you would just not really feel comfortable, and it can also cause like stress.
Mason is autistic. When you look at all these ugliness that's going around the world, wonder if he doesn't answer somebody properly. Wonder if he gets confronted by a cop. A white kid got a better chance of standing that as opposed to my child.
We're not taken as seriously once people get to know that we are people of color. Our access to the services is limited. So if you don't have a strong person in your corner or someone who's saying it doesn't matter what your color is, what your ethnicity is, then they're going to be shortchanged.
I think there are a lot of different areas of research that can help adolescents with autism. Health, whether that's mental health, sex ed, and relationships. Some of those areas that are part of adolescent development, but people don't necessarily always think of when they think of individuals with autism. Research into family units, how to support families in moving through some really complex topics, the building of independence, making sure that somebody is set up well for their life, but also the challenges that go along with that.
I feel the research that might help the most is getting them involved in and asking them questions about what they need, what they feel, and how they're dealing with this invisible diagnosis.
I think it's important for researchers to study eating disorders and depression. Like if I feel anxious, I would just lose my appetite. And same thing with depressed, like I would just not want to eat.
If more people understood autism, I believe that the young people who are on the spectrum would feel more accepted and not so much as outsiders.
How does a teacher teach them? How does a fireman or police deal with them? How do they recognize a child who's on the spectrum? And so just knowing that there's kids, well, we have children on the autism spectrum and it's on the rise is one thing, but educating people about it is another.
As an educator, I think educating educators is a huge priority, especially from high school and into college. It's just so necessary because so much gets missed. And so a lot of what happens in terms of being blamed for misbehavior is really not intentional misbehavior or misbehavior at all.
I feel like a lot of times they don't know what to do with our children, so they just put them in different programs. But if you include them, I think they'll be better off. So researching on how we can integrate them into, regular classes, because we know that autistic children learn from seeing things.
The research agenda for autistic adolescents and young adults has the potential to inform research and policy decision-making, service provision, have a direct effect on the health and well-being of autistic individuals, and importantly, change or address the culture for the general public in interacting and understanding autistic individuals.
I feel hopeful because I think that what we did was we kind of made a synopsis of what bigger needs are that have been so overlooked for so long.
I'm proud of the fact that we were able to come together and exchange ideas and make connections that for some of us we didn't have before. A lot of us parents felt isolated. I don't know any other parent who may have a child who is going through the same thing. So we were able to come together, exchange these ideas, come up with a plan of how to move forward with research.
It sets us up to have some real direction in terms of where our focus should be. And it came not out of the mouths of professionals, but it really came from individuals themselves and families, and that is so critical. Those are the voices that we need to be listening to.
Feels pretty good sharing my experience and educating people what I dealt with.
I want to see my child heads held up high, no fear in the world, walking freely and, saying, I got this.